So for those who don't know, open world games really got me back into gaming when I was a senior in high school. I'd basically fallen out of games, and it was the idea of the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind that really sold me on the original Xbox. And leading up to that, I remember reading and hearing some things about Shenmue. So I went and purchased a Dreamcast and Shenmue. And that really was probably my first experience with kind of a self-contained sandbox type game where you could virtually go and do all kinds of things in this, fictitious world that was created for you. And it really inspired me to seek out different and better things within gaming, bigger things than I was used to. So Morrowind comes out in 2002, and I went and got that, and it completely just dominated my life for that summer. I'd never experienced or played anything like that before. It's just, you're dunked in this world. Here's a sword, kill God. Throughout the years, that formula has been, improved upon, modified on, and pushed even further. I feel like Fallout 3 was, a big iteration in that formula. There are some others that came along the way that I'm probably forgetting, but the biggest change in dynamic as far as everything is concerned is definitely The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I had very low expectations on that game when it came out. I'm not really the biggest fan of Legend of Zelda games to begin with. So it comes out, and I purchased it on launch day with a Switch, and I came home and I started playing it, and my mind was just blown. Like, the thing that blew my mind was as soon as I walked out of the cave, there was a tree, and I jumped and I hit like the wrong button or something. And he actually grabbed onto the trunk of the tree, and I was like, wait, you can do this? And I started scaling the tree. I was like, this is the most freeing thing ever. Next thing I see a cliff. So I run over to the cliff, and I jump, and I grab onto the cliff. I start scaling the cliff. And the entire world that they created in Breath of the Wild is completely open to exploration, as long as you had the stamina to withstand the scaling. Everything in that game world is open for you to touch, to feel, to walk up, to climb, at some point to swim across. It's the most exhilarating thing. That first experience was something I'll probably never forget. Now, I've played open world games since then. I played Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I've played Horizon Zero Dawn. I've played Days Gone. I've played a lot of open world games since then. But for some reason, it just felt like nobody was really on par with what Nintendo did with Breath of the Wild as far as the world is concerned, because the world in and of itself is a character as well. But all these other developers are just basically treating the world as set dressing, that the story is what's important. But if the world itself is inaccessible, or if there's nothing interesting in the world, then why am I going to pay attention to the story? Oh, what's going to keep me here and keep me engaged? So with all this chatter with Elden Ring coming up, I'm a Souls fan. I'm a light Souls fan because I didn't have my first Souls experience until 2019. So I was like, I'm going to get this Dark Souls trilogy. It can't be that bad. So I go to GameStop and get the Dark Souls trilogy set. I bring it home and I install Dark Souls 1. And then I absolutely just fell in love with the game. For the next week and a half, I was just consumed with Dark Souls. I couldn't stop. And so after that, I went to Dark Souls 2. I went to Dark Souls 3. I went to Demon Souls on the PlayStation 3. I went to Bloodborne. I went to Sekiro. And at this point, by the time of this recording, I've earned a platinum trophy in all those games, except for Dark Souls 1. It kind of has a special place, and I didn't want to just completely run it into the ground of trying to get a platinum trophy. So when they were talking about Elden Ring, I was like, it can't be that good. I mean, it's just going to be big Dark Souls, right? That's just it. Boy, was I wrong. Was the entire industry wrong? Because we all assumed that's what it was going to be. From Software took the open world format and pushed it, the entire genre, further in a new direction. In a direction that everybody else, at this point, has to heed the calling. If you're making an open world game now, you have the obligation that you now have to look to what From Software did in Elden Ring and correct course. And I think that could be why we saw a delay in Square Enix's new game. I can't remember what it's called. Maybe they're like, man, we need to make some adjustments. What are we doing here? And the thing that I find interesting is, Horizon Forbidden West came out just a week before it. And self-admittedly, I pile drive through the entire campaign in like 3 days. Because I'm like, I got this game, but I know once Elden Ring hits, it's just going to sit on the shelf. So I'm going to just steamroll through the story. And after that, then do as many side quests as I can. And when Elden Ring hits, it's on the shelf. I don't have to worry about it. So I steamrolled through the main quest. I did as many side quests as I could before last Friday hit. And then the game hits and I'm playing it and I'm like, man, this game makes Horizon Forbidden West completely obsolete. Like, the game itself, I mean, no offense to Guerrilla, it was a nice game. It was a nice experience. But it's like, now that I've experienced Elden Ring and how open world games should be approached, how am I expected to go back? Like when the DLC comes out. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. So the thing that really irked me the most. So you go into a cave and you need to, go to the center and, disable some mainframe computer or some nonsense. So you go into a cave and the entire time you're walking, Aloy's like, oh, there's a hook. I could grapple onto that. Oh, there's a bridge. I bet the sensor is over here where we can unlock it. And the entire time you're playing, she's basically telling you how to play the game. I'm like, why are you telling me this? I can figure it out myself. I can walk in, I can survey the area, and I can make my own plan based on what I see. But Guerrilla didn't afford me, the player, that luxury. As soon as I walked into the cave, they just assume I'm a big dummy, and they have to hold my hand and tell me how to do this puzzle. And it was really irksome because there would legitimately be puzzles. I walk up to a puzzle, and I would make one attempt, and it was like, no, that didn't work out. And immediately Ayla was like, maybe if you try to move it in this direction. And I'm like, you went and spoiled it. Why can't I just sit here and have several attempts and try to get it right myself? Guerrilla doesn't afford me that. They think that I'm a big idiot, and if I can't get it right the first time, then I'm just gonna quit. Well, I guess other gamers could do that, but not me. It's like, if I got the puzzle wrong, or if I went down the wrong path or something, or if I did the wrong jump, I'll go back. I'll, back up to where I can look at the entire area, and I'll see, what did I miss? What do I need to do? Where do we need to go from here? And then I correct course, and then I proceed. They didn't give me that luxury. Same thing with playing Assassin's Creed. I felt like, I had many more complaints as far as that goes. Assassin's Creed was basically the same mission, but 35 times over. So it's like, you get to England, and the mission is you were supposed to set up allies. Okay, well, here's ally territory. So I go and talk to the king or the sultan or whatever, and he says, yeah, we need to do this, do that. And so we do a few fetch quests, and it culminates in a raid. And that's every single territory. You go talk to the king, do a few fetch quests, culminates in a raid. Go talk to the next king, do a few fetch quests, culminates in a raid. And initially, I thought, okay, there's like 6 territories. No. As you start clearing out territories, the map gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm like, how many freaking territories are there? Why don't you just show me at the beginning how many territories there are, so I know? FromSoft, on the other hand, respects the player. If I walk in, if I can't get it right, there's not a hint on the screen. The screen doesn't start glowing saying, you need to go over here. No. I back up, I look at it, and I think, okay, well, that didn't work. So now what do we do? Like, you walk up to one of those statues that highlights the path to a catacombs. So there was this one, and it was like way up in the top, or on a cliff or something. And the highlight is literally going to the ground, like right in the middle of the field. So I'm like, okay, where do we go? Obviously, we have to go below because the catacombs is down below this, cliff. So now the idea is we got to run all around the cliff and find where is the point to where you can drop down. Because it's not just the path turns red and points you in a direction. No. It's like Morrowind. You literally got to ride around and look for visual cues in the terrain to make a decision on where you need to go. And I finally found a recession in the cliff to where I could start jumping down. And so I just started jumping down the cliff on these, rocks that were hanging out. I made it down to the ground, and what do you know? There's the catacombs right there. And it's things like that to where the game just respects my intelligence. And there was this other area where I walk in, and there's a beast, a carcass, a beast carcass in the middle of like an amphitheater. And so it's like, okay, apparently there's something that's going to happen here. Knowing FromSoft, there's something that's going to happen here with the beast. So now we got to figure it out. I couldn't help but notice when I walked in, I lit a sconce. And by lighting that sconce, it set another sconce at the amphitheater on fire. So I looked and I'm like, okay, there's 8, and there's one that's on fire. So apparently I need to find the 7 other corresponding sconces throughout this level and light them on fire to light this up. And sure enough, that was the puzzle. And the thing is I spent like an hour and a half running around this map trying to find the sconces to light them on fire. If this was a Bethesda game, or this was a Ubisoft game, or if this was a Guerrilla game, there would have been 8 markers on the map telling me exactly where the sconces were. You just run over and you light them. But From Software respects my intelligence more, and they didn't have anything on the map. It was up to me to walk the terrain, scour the terrain with my own human eyes, look for indentations and pillars and whatnot, and then go, oh, there's the sconce. We gotta light it on fire. And I lit it on fire. And then at the end of it, I had a boss fight. It's just the way that they approach different things that you take care of in the game is just so freeing and refreshing to me. And I thought that way with Dark Souls and Bloodborne and all those other games. But I just never would have envisioned taking that exact same formula and applying it to an open world to where it's like, you come out of a cave, here's a club, go kill God, I mean, it was very reminiscent to how Zelda was. But it pushed it in a different direction because there's just so much more to do in this game than there is in Zelda. And there was only like, 4 or 5 main dungeons, and everything else were those shrines. But in this game, there's everywhere you look, there is literally a cave to go into with the boss, or a catacombs to go into with the boss, or a castle, or a fortress, or something. There's something to do. It all culminates usually with a boss where you have to study and figure out, how do I break through his defenses? How do I dodge his attacks? How do I end up getting sufficient blows on him to whittle down his health? And it's just also invigorating. So all that to say, I feel like Elden Ring definitely pushed the genre in a new and exciting direction, and it's up to everybody else to heed the call and to pivot in that direction, because the industry's changed, man. It's changed. A week ago, it changed. Okay, we were living in pre-Elden Ring times. Now we're in post-Elden Ring times. There was a cataclysm, and now it's up to all the developers to respond to that. I don't know if I can go back to another open world game where it's just filled with fetch quests and markers on the map. I just don't know if I can do it. And that's sad.